ladies and gents, welcome to day 12 of MovieFile's 100 Movies in 100 Days, and today I'll be reviewing the movie Moonrise Kingdom. Part of the fact that I decided to review this movie was not only the fact that it was a Bill Murray movie, but it has other actors that I can associate with who are playing out of their element, so to speak. Bruce Willis, for instance, Edward Norton.
Oh, bullshit, you ain't that fancy. Can't hardly tell the difference.
And they all represent supporting characters in this movie. None of these guys are actually lead actors in this film, so it's kind of intriguing. Now, this is a romantic comedy drama film that focuses on two runaways that was directed by Wes Anderson and Roman Coppola, and it stars an ensemble cast in which Murray is included.
Is this true?
Yes, it's true. This man has no dick.
In September 1965, a New England island called New Penzance, a 12-year-old orphan named Sam is attending Scouts, led by Scoutmaster Randy Ward, who's played by Edward Norton. Susie Bishop, who's also 12, lives on the island with her parents, Walt and Laura. Walt, who's played by Bill Murray.
Is this true?
Yes, it's true.
In the summer of 1964, they've been pen pals since the church play of Noise Flood, and have fallen in love over the course of their correspondence. Sam and Susie, both outcasts, decide to run away together, hoping that the two of them could spend the rest of their lives together without interference from anybody else. Now, the sheriff, played by Bruce Willis, the scoutmaster, played by Norton, and Susie's parents decide to go after them, and in hopes that they can find these kids and resolve what any issues are happening at the moment. The story unfolds as the two run away, going through the entire land of Penzance on a sightseeing trip, using only their wits to try and find that slice of happiness that they've been missing. Randy decides to send the rest of the scouts after them, deputising them in hopes that they can actually find Sam, but they instead decide that they want to beat the living snot out of him. Susie, in his defence, jams a pair of scissors in one of their scout boys' arms, injuring the poor boy. Once they've been found, Sam's adoptive parents decide that they no longer want him and want to put him back into foster care. The sheriff is then informed by social services that if he goes back into care, he will then receive shock treatment over his past mistakes. Noticing that this could end up harming the child, the sheriff decides to take him in and try and be his adopted father. Susie's parents, attempting to resolve their differences, realise that their marriage is in shambles, as Susie's mum was having an affair with the sheriff, which was the whole reason why Susie ran away in the first place. So you can see why these kids actually ran off, and it's because of the fact that their lives are such a mess. Sam feeling unwanted, feeling bullied by the kids that were working with him in Scouts, and Susie not feeling that she has any connection to her family or her parents, knowing the fact that she's burdened with her mum's mistakes. The story that's being told here is from the kids' perspective as they're trying to navigate themselves through this adult world that they're in at the moment, with adults that don't seem to be as intelligent as they are. Norton's scoutmaster, Randy, is a total and utter inept individual. He's the kind of individual that you sit there and you would never entrust with children, but somehow he manages to get kids and get himself into a worse situation as time goes on, even to one extent losing his entire troop. Willis' sheriff seems clouded by his own desires after lusting after Susie's mum, still has that heart of gold as he wants to take Sam in as his own child because he doesn't want this little boy to end up with any more abuse in his life and to sink deeper because of the fact that no one is there for him, and putting him in care of social services seems like a very bad move. Once the two are found and brought back home, they decide to go on the run again, being aided by the rest of the scout troop this time. Now, the bullies have learned the error of their ways and are attempting to rectify the situation that they've put Sam in, because they don't want to see this boy in a situation where he could end up being depressed, or even worse, being mistreated to the point that he could commit suicide. So they go on the run. But at the same time, there's flash floods, there's lightning, and there's a storm going on, so that could endanger the kids and also the rest of the populace of the town. All individuals end up locked up in an old church, as Sam and Susie climb to the top of the building in hopes that they could just end up killing themselves for their love. And the sheriff attempts to rescue them as he talks to social services about keeping the boy and raising him as his own. Susie's parents, being legal advisors, decide to put the law in force and remove social services' stranglehold on the child. He then is able to rescue the children as lightning hits the rod of the church, causing an event which nearly kills everybody. And once the story is all wrapped up in the neat little package, the resolution is there and it's done. Sam's happy, Susie's happy because she gets to spend the rest of her life with the love of her life, which is Sam. The sheriff, who's being played by Willis, has now found his own purpose because he has a child to raise. He has responsibility in his life. Susie's parents are rectifying their marriage in an attempt to resolve things not just for their children but for each other. And Sam seems happier due to the fact that his father permits him to see Susie whenever he wants, driving him to and from her house. Now let's talk about the acting. The prime focus of this movie are Sam and Susie. Gerard Gilman, the young boy who plays Sam, has a grave understanding of his character. He understands that Sam's his tortured soul. He emotes it rather well, feel the character's subtext and read every single language from his communication of his facial expressions down to every line that manages to sort of emote. Cara Haywood as Susie, she plays the character so sublimely, from her very volatile highs to her desperate lows, and you can show the fact that these two are in love, and they seem brimmed full of emotion but also rather blank at the same time. And mind you, it really works because that's how screwed up these kids are, especially being in the situation that they're in at the moment. Norton's Scoutmaster Randy makes me laugh, and it's just due to the fact that he's very prissy, very lenient on his scouts, even having them build a house on top of a tree that looks like it's extremely unstable, to the fact that he even loses his troops because he's just so inept at his job. Bill Murray as Walt Bishop, Susie's father, he's a character that he's rather familiar with and someone that he plays rather well since Lost in Translation. Reason being, he seems rather desperate, a character that seeks attention, that's on the brink of a marriage that's nearly about to end because he doesn't address his problems. And Bruce Willis, in general, as the sheriff, he plays his character to a T, being a guy who's rather lost in his own mind, so to speak, but has this rough and tough exterior. And with this entire cast, manages to tell a rather beautiful story about young love, but also in terms of a dark comedy, it's extremely hilarious to see what these guys get up to. Now let's go from my rating. As you know, I rate movies from a 1 to 5, 1 being the worst and 5 being the best. Now I give this movie a very solid 4, being the fact that it's a nice watch. It's a very honest and very loving tale, but it's extremely dark at the same time. It highlights a huge load of issues in terms of like adults and also how these problems reflect on their children, because you can see how these problems are being passed down from generation to generation. Would I recommend this film to a friend? Yes, I would, and I'm recommending it to you guys today. If you haven't seen it, I suggest you go and watch this. Beautifully directed, sublimely acted, and very well written piece. As you know, today's the start of Bill Murray Fortnight, so if you want to leave any suggestions for movies that you'd like me to review, or want to switch over to Twitch TV and watch me play a game or two, then head over there as I'll be playing the game Ghostbusters. This is the unofficial installment of the Ghostbusters franchise and is considered in canon, so it's like the Ghostbusters 3 but without actually being titled Ghostbusters 3. So if you're gasping for another Ghostbusters movie, switch over to Twitch TV and check me out playing the game on the Xbox 360 as I do a long playthrough. And come back tomorrow over on YouTube for another MovieFile as I'll be reviewing Ghostbusters. So I'll see you then, guys.